Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. If it's Tuesday, it's a Jason Sukamel day. And Jason, I am titled today Judgment Day because I know National Signing Day is on Wednesday. We're going to talk a lot about that, but we gotta go with the hot topic, which everyone's talking about, which is the committee's going to come out with their rankings tonight. Everybody's talking about it. That's where Longhorn Nation is focused on. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Jason, I'm going to start the conversation with this. Yesterday, Sarkisian went on what I guess we would say the offense at that point, right? The assault or something like that, and tried and made the rounds on lots of different shows and kind of pleaded the case for Texas being inside the playoff. Was it convincing for you, Jason? What did you think about it? I think he did the right thing by doing it. But did he lay a convincing argument for you? And do you think it'll impact the committee at all when it comes out tonight?
I'll be honest, and I know you kind of mentioned the same on the post-game show after the A&M game. He kind of did the same deal in his press conference, and he does make some very convincing points, right? So I'm like, like it kind of got me thinking. So I think it's smart what he's doing. I think he has some very valid points about the schedule they've played and the number of top 10 teams they've beaten. Obviously the challenges of playing in Ohio State on the road. Do I think it impacts the committee? That's a good question. Probably not, or if it does, I think it'll be very minimal. I don't think it's going to be enough to get Texas to get a big bump and get them in.
Now, what are the things, Jason, the points? Let's get into the points that you think he made. Okay. The top 10 wins, where should that rank as far as the committee is concerned? Because should the wins outweigh the losses? Should the risk outweigh the reward? Let's talk about that portion of it.
Yeah, well, that's just it. When you read on Orange Bloods and what Sark's saying, I mean, there's two ways to look at it, and everybody's looking at it. Everybody that we're dealing with is looking at it from a Texas point of view, right? Mm-hmm, you got these top 10 wins. You played Ohio State close. But then the detractors are saying, yeah, but that Florida loss, man, that Florida loss. And honestly, they're probably, if you're looking at the big picture, you also have to take into account the Kentucky win, Mississippi State win, both overtime wins. I mean, is there such a thing as a bad win in college football? I don't know. If there are, those are probably them. To me, it's on where it should be about getting the best teams in the college football playoff. And if you're talking to me, like if I pull up the rankings here, BYU's not one of the best teams. Utah certainly isn't. I know Utah's going to drop. They dropped in the polls. Texas just beat A&M. Is Texas a better team than A&M if they played 10 times? I don't know, but they beat them the one time they played. I'm not saying A&M shouldn't be in, obviously, but if the goal is to get the best teams into the college football playoff, it's a tough argument because I look at these things. Well, last week, they had Michigan above Texas. Michigan moved up 3 spots last week. I didn't understand that. Yeah. Utah has been squeaking by, and they've been still hanging around above Texas, and they're beating bad teams barely. BYU is not playing really good football, and so I don't know. I think if we're talking, is Texas one of the top 12 teams in the country? You can make a case. Yes, you can make a case. They've got the good wins. But they've also got a couple pretty bad losses, including the Georgia loss, which is fairly recent loss. So I don't know. I can kind of see both pictures. I said today, like I did my SEC power rankings, and I had Texas. It'll take me a second to pull it. I had Texas right above Oklahoma. I had Texas right above Vanderbilt, and I had Texas above. Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do 3 things at once. But anyways, I said, I could make a case that Vanderbilt, I said teams that I think are pretty close to each other. And I could make a case that Vanderbilt should Texas. And people say, well, why? Texas beat Vanderbilt head-to-head. And I go, yeah, they did. But Vanderbilt has 2 losses, and they're both to good teams. They're to Texas. They're to Alabama. They were competitive in both games. And they don't have that bad loss, okay? And they just beat Kentucky. They thumped Kentucky, the same Kentucky team that Texas went to overtime with. I had Texas at 4, A&M 5, Vanderbilt 6, Oklahoma 7. I just don't think Oklahoma's playing that good of football. I know they're winning games, but I don't look at Oklahoma and see they're a great football team. So I know I'm kind of rambling. I'm all over the place, Omar.
No, you're good.
I don't know what the answer is to your question. Like, what's the committee going to look at? Are they going to look at the thing as a whole? Are they only going to look at wins and losses? That seems to be what they're doing. In those 3 losses, I think that Florida loss is just going to be too much to overcome.
The hard part, and this is, I'll be honest with you, what seems to be me, Jason, is probably more egregious when I go to the committee rankings is Notre Dame ahead of Miami. Like, if there is if there's an absolutely egregious one, Miami beat Notre Dame head to head. Okay, like that to me, you start there. They both those teams have similar records, right? And then Miami, when you come against common opponents, Miami has some of the edge in the common opponent. So what's throwing it off for me before I even get to the Texas standpoint of it, it's kind of like, okay, well, what are we judging this thing on? Because if you tell me 3-loss team doesn't get in versus a 2-loss team, well, that's just math, right? I mean, it's not an apples to apples comparison unless that 3-loss team is somehow killing it. But it's if we're just talking 3 versus 2, I get it. BYU's ranked 11-1, and I get that kind of thing. But if I'm Miami and Cristobal, I'm probably more pissed than anybody right now because I'm like, wait a second, what's your criteria here, right? And so I would start, for me, Jason, I start there.
I look at that one differently than you.
Okay, tell me why.
It was the first game of the season.
Yeah.
It was at Miami. I think it wasn't at their home stadium, but right, it was at the Hard Rock, whatever it is. It was a 3-point game, so they barely beat them. Notre Dame then lost to Texas A&M, and then they ran off 10 straight wins. I get it. They didn't really beat anybody in that 10. I mean, USC. Miami has more recent losses, and they lost to Louisville and SMU, not super high-powered teams. I think if I look at that right now and I say, okay, I get it, you got head-to-head, but that was week 1. That was so long ago. If those 2 teams played right now, I think Notre Dame beats Miami. I think they beat them pretty handily. So I understand that one, honestly. And when people say all these head-to-head, well, I'm like, okay, I know that matters, but you also have to take into account when it happened and how these teams are playing right now. And that's a reason I think Texas has a strong case to get in. If that Georgia game would have been closer, Omar, if they just, and I know Georgia blew open in the 4th quarter, but if they would have just played Georgia tougher on the road, maybe lost that one by 3-4 points, I think they'd have a much stronger case, because obviously Texas has played well here of late, including the A&M win. But then people say, well, yeah, but a few weeks ago you lost by 25 points. So, but anyways, yeah, I kind of understand the Notre Dame Miami thing, just because of when it happened, how that game played, who Notre Dame's other loss was to, the fact that Miami's had more recent losses to lesser opponents. I kind of understand that one.
Jason, look, we can't solve all the world's problems today, right? We only got it.
Listen, Miami always plays at Hard Rock. I was wondering when I said that. That's right. All their games are at Hard Rock.
Yeah.
I think we had a super chat.
Oh, did we go? Well, go ahead and let's get the super chat there. I like to lock those out pretty quickly. Longhorn football edits. That's one of our guys right there. I'll put it up.
Yeah, if you can.
At some point, the TV network money matters. Correct. Are the networks okay with losing the potential revenue difference when we drop Ohio State for Old Dominion? Like it or not, those games move the money needle. Well, here's a couple. This is what's important to know, Longhorn football edit. At the end of the day, no matter what, in your non-conference schedule, you've got to schedule at least one Power 4 program. So I think when people are thinking, okay, Texas is going to drop Ohio State and replace it with whoever, whatever, Trinity University or something, right? I try to think of something that I wouldn't insult anyone and get like everybody like pissed off. And I don't think a lot of people from Trinity watch the show. You can't do that. You got to go. It has to be at least one Power Four. So what you have to do is take that team off Ohio State and replace it with a Purdue, a Northwestern. You got to find a program that is going to be probably never going to be great, right? Always going to be kind of a bottom tier team, whether it's going to be a Rutgers or something like that. It's got to be like that. That's how you would get away with that. Maybe you take a risk with a Stanford, which I don't know what they're ever going to be. It's going to be like that. Wisconsin. It's something to Texas Bond says to Wisconsin. It's got to be something like that. So it can't just be straight cupcakes. You got to have one Power Four. The interesting thing about what he's asking, though, Jason, and it was going to bleed into what I was going to get into, is that one of the reasons it's almost like at what point do we just go to an NFL model where it just says division champs are in, and you just do like that? It's almost like there's an FCS model that works. I was talking to somebody about this morning. I've been talking about it on Orange Blood yesterday as well. There's an FCS model that works, that gets teams in. It's a lot less controversial. But the bowl games, there's money.
Mm-hmm.
I wants to give up those bowl games. So is there a right way, or are we just kind of left with what it is? Because at the end of the day, they're not really caring about the fans per se. They're just caring about the money.
Well, and one other thing about Longhorn Edit's point about, he's talking about canceling games and the TV revenue being lost from that. That's true. But also, like, if Texas is in, in Texas and Arch Manning are in, that's a lot more eyeballs that are going to be on those games and a lot more advertising they can sell, and people are going to be more interested. I don't know what the right answer is, Omar. There's always going to be bitching and moaning. I mean, listen, the NCAA tournament's up to whatever 100 teams it seems like now. That last team out is always going to be upset.
Yes.
If they go to 16 or 20 something teams, the 17th team, even though they probably don't have much of a chance at all of winning a college football playoff, if it was that many teams, someone's always going to be unhappy. So no matter where the cutoff is, that next one or two teams are going to be upset. What's the right system? I don't hate the system that we have now. And I kind of like having one non-Power Four school get in there, just, I don't know, give you an underdog, a chance to kind of maybe pull off one upset. I don't think they're going to win anything big, but I don't hate the system now. It's just, honestly, I mean, Texas put itself in this position. The Ohio State scheduling that game in hindsight was probably a mistake. And losing to Florida, losing to Georgia by 25. I mean, Texas put itself in this position. If you're going to be mad at the committee, okay, I understand it. But, Texas is the one who put themselves in this position where they're having to sweat it out. And I saw today, I think on ESPN, their playoff predictor, I think that Texas is a 2% chance of getting in. So,
oh, snap.
Yeah. So, they didn't get any help last week.
Stay there for a second. Let me ask you this. If Texas beats Florida and they still lose to Ohio State and Georgia, are we having this conversation?
No, Texas is 100% in. Yeah.
Okay.
They're probably sitting around, probably they're ahead of Oklahoma right now. And Oklahoma is 8th as of last week.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So they're probably ahead of Oklahoma, right around there with Ole Miss. So, yeah, Texas is in that situation. And listen, man, I get it. Like, don't schedule those games moving forward. It makes sense. But you know who's not saying that? Ohio State's not saying that because they won that game. Mm-hmm. And Ohio State's they didn't need it. But Ohio State, if Texas had won that game, Anwar, then the difference is the Florida loss doesn't matter. You're still in. So there's two ways to look at it. Again, there's always two sides to every story. And there are different ways to look at it. So you can cancel it moving forward and schedule an easier opponent. And, some of these other tough non-conference games Texas has. And maybe it helps you in terms of going from 2 to 3 losses on some years. But if you can win that first big game, that big non-conference game, that gives you a little bit of a get out of jail free card too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing. And, Jason, I keep saying this. And when it comes to the non-conference schedule, the main reason why it's getting lost right now, because the narrative kind of shifted. The main reason why Texas started scheduling these marquee non-conference games, not just now, I'm talking about back years ago, is because the Big 12 schedule was sucked.
Yeah.
And nobody really wanted to watch these games. Nobody wanted to watch Kansas and West Virginia and Kansas State. And people weren't, Baylor wasn't good for a while, right? So actually they were good and then they fell off, right? And so no one was hype about any of these games. It was just kind of like Iowa State is coming to town, like whoop-de-doo, right? So Texas started and they added in the non-conference schedules to beef it up. That's why you got your BYUs, you got your Notre Dames, you got your USCs, right? You remember all these non-conference games from 2013 and beyond, right? And it was all just designed like, hey, we want to put butts in the seats. Then they moved up to they're going to schedule Georgia and Florida before we got into the conference, right? And then there was the Notre Dames again and Ohio States, and all this was designed in order to put butts in a seat, and basically make some money. To be quite honest with you. Then Texas had some success because remember they could never escape the non-conference schedule being undefeated, JC. Remember the Maryland losses in back-to-back years, right? Cal happened. So it was always a struggle. But then over the last couple of years, they had success. So then it became, well, we want to play the best. We don't want to shy away from the competition, so on and so forth. But funny thing happened on the way to the SEC, which is probably don't need these games anymore. And the crazy part, Jason, is when you go to 9 conference games, you really don't need this anymore, right? You are Jason. I had Tyler put together this graphic for me yesterday. I showed it on the screen. Let me see if I could find it. Damn it, man! Where did Tyler put this damn thing? He may have put it. Hold on one second. I want you to see. They move these things around in Restream. Hold on, I could find it real quick. Hopefully, maybe he put it here. Here you go. All right, Jason, check this out. Look at the non-conference schedule and then the regular schedule. And I know you're seeing this for the first time, right? So I'll give you a second to process this. You can see if you think this year is difficult, well, next year is Ohio State, plus you got all these other programs here, right? You got the Arkansas, Florida, A&M, Oklahoma, Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU now looks like a much tougher game. Missouri and Tennessee, right? Then you look at 2027, and you got Michigan, Jason, and then you look at that slate of games, of course, being at Arkansas, at Alabama, at Vanderbilt, which I guess we have to, they're a squad right now. We'll see what they look like without Pavia. And then you look at 2028, you've got Notre Dame. I mean, the question that really becomes, Jason, at the end of the day, does Texas just need to say, hey, man, this was cool, but we just don't need this non-conference smoke anymore?
The easy answer, yeah, that's what they need to do. I mean, it's your point is so on point. Those were necessary when you were in the Big 12. You don't need them anymore. You get enough marquee games within the conference. You're going to get 2, 3, 4 within the conference every single year. Now, the problem is, it's just not as easy as just to say, hey, we're going to get on the phone and cancel that Ohio State game next year. We're going to cancel that Michigan game. You can make it happen. Chris Del Conte or whoever could make it happen, but is it a bad look also? Are you going to get some backlash for quote unquote backing down from competition? I don't know, but I mean, it's a smart thing to do, but I don't know that there won't be some pushback if that's what Texas does, especially if it comes on the heels of Texas getting left out this year. People are going to say, oh, look at poor big bad Texas taking its ball and and going home. But it is the smart thing to do. You've heard Sark mention it. Like, why do we have those games if we're going to get punished for them? It's absolutely the smart thing to do to take those marquee non-conference games off the schedule. I just don't know. You've heard a kind of a veiled threat of Texas maybe doing that, of canceling those games. Will they actually go through with that threat? I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, here's the deal. Here's the interesting thing, Jason. Indiana did the same thing a couple of years ago. Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, it's Indiana. Of course, they're the number two.
That being said, they are, right, but they're also no one cares, right? And no one's like,
who did they have scheduled? I don't remember that.
They had like Virginia scheduled. They took Virginia off their schedule, and it was like I think it may be like NC State, something to that effect, right? And they just said, man, we don't need that anymore. Jason, when you look at this, here's the deal. And this is where I think that if it's all about 10 wins, because if the committee comes out and says it's just about 10, right? And again, we see 2027 is like a killer of a schedule, because you've got Georgia that you got to play again. You're at Alabama. At Arkansas. Like 2027 is like, oh my God, right? So Jason, but at the end of the day, when you look at this, if the committee is telling you, hey, it's all about getting to 10 wins. Well, if you lose the non-conference game, now you've only given yourself one more margin of error over the next 9 games. Yeah. And then if you get one more, and if you get anything past that, it's tough. So,
well, let me interrupt. So,
yeah,
if Texas had lost to Ohio State like they did, okay, if they lost to Georgia by 3 points and lost to Oklahoma by 4, is that 3-loss team in?
We haven't seen a 3-loss team get in yet.
Yeah, but I think that team might be in. I think it's the teams that they lost to, Florida, and the way they lost to Georgia. I don't know if that scenario I pointed out would for sure get them in and get them over the hump.
Yeah.
But I think they'd be a lot closer and have a lot better argument. So the reason I say that, the games we're talking about there, that 2027 schedule is brutal. But if you go through that 2027 season and you do lose 3 games, and it's a 3-point loss to Michigan and a close loss to Georgia and a close loss to Oklahoma or something, and then you rattle off, some wins to end the season. I think a 3-loss team can get in still, but it has to be good losses, if you will, or not devastating losses. I guess I should say.
Yeah, that's the thing, like, right. And look, Jason, you're not wrong, right? We can't ignore that. This is where Texas fans struggle with this a little bit, because they'll say, and you've probably seen this on our board, they'll say, yes, you can't lose to Florida, but then they'll point and say, but Alabama lost to Florida State.
Yeah.
Now, does the tiebreaker in that is okay? But Alabama doesn't have a 25-point loss on their schedule, and they're at 3. It's like, I think this is where the Texas fans kind of get a little lost. It's like, wait a second, Bama lost to FSU, and they'll
Florida
say,
just beat FSU, by the way. So
drug FSU, by the way, like beat the hell out of them. And so to say, wait. Okay, if you want to penalize us for this, then what the hell? Why is that team not being penalized? Is it as simplistic as, hey, well, they don't have a 3rd loss, so it's not an apples to apples?
I think it's that, and that was week 1. The Georgia game is still fresh, and people keep saying that game at Georgia was close until the 4th. I know. Believe me, we watched the game, but it doesn't matter. You still lost by 25. That's what the committee is going to look at for the most part. That Florida State, or that loss to Florida State by Bama, is a bad loss, right?
Yeah.
But that was week 1, and there was a few weeks there, Florida State looked like a pretty good football team. Now we look at it like, what the hell's happening? So I think the timing of that loss compared to Texas's loss to Florida, which is a little more recent, and obviously the fact that it's a 3rd loss for Texas compared to 2 for Bama. So, but yeah, I think the timing of some of that stuff does matter too.
Last thing, Jason, and look, but 2 last things. One, what do you think happens tonight? Where do you think Texas? Do you think Texas moves up significantly? Do you think they crack the top 12, or do you think they just move up a couple of spots? I'm curious if you had to make a prediction, which I won't hold you to if you're wrong, but if you had to make a prediction, what do you think?
I think it's going to be like the coaches and AP polls, which moved them up 2 spots. I mean, Michigan's going to fall below Texas. That puts them up to 15th. Could they leapfrog Vanderbilt? I mean, maybe, but Vandy just beat a pretty good Tennessee team on the road handily, so I don't know about that. I think they should move ahead of Utah. Utah is right now 3 spots ahead of them, but I think they'll maybe be 14th. I don't think the committee puts them much higher than that onward, because if they do bump them up to like 12th or something, then you're really going to hear some noise coming out of Austin. Like, all right, I think they want to keep Texas basically as far away from being in as possible, so it almost is an impossibility that Texas makes it in. Maybe some of that noise will quiet down. But if they move them up like 4 spots, then you're going to hear people saying, "Oh, they're just cowering to, the big brand of Texas and Sark's." People call them.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably going to move them up like 2 spots is all. Michigan, maybe Utah, and I think you'll probably see them at 14th, maybe 13th. Although I think that's hard to bump Vanderbilt down. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the coaches in the AP did. They dropped Vandy, or the coaches did. AP did. I'm sorry, dropped them down a spot and moved Miami up a spot, which I don't understand that after what Vandy did last time. The ones that really bother me the most are Utah and BYU. I mean, I can understand Vanderbilt being ranked ahead of Texas. I know Texas beat them head to head. I get it, but Vandy doesn't have any bad losses. They only have 2 losses. They've got some pretty good wins on their ledger.
Beat Tennessee at the end of the season as well. Exactly. Smoked Tennessee, by the way.
Yeah, at Tennessee. But yeah, Utah and BYU are those are 2 teams I think Texas beats handily. Yet they're ranked quite a bit above Texas going into tonight. I think maybe that changes with Utah, but we'll see.
So the thing is, Jason, I think the thing that you nailed was the thing I had been thinking about, which is, first of all, I think what Sark did yesterday was excellent. I think what Bianco has been doing as far as getting the message out has been fantastic. Like I think the campaign has been really good. But to your point though, Jason, the committee, will they say, hey, listen, if we let Texas move up, then now we're going to set the precedence for everybody who's 9-3, 9-3 in the future to complain, and do we have to move them up as well? Like, how do we react to that? And there may be some pushback in that room that says, well, we don't want us to seem weak, and that now. But I do think it's a made-for-TV event, so we're clear. It's on ESPN. It's a Disney. It's a show. Right. And so they like the drama, I think, of it as well. Like, they now know there's going to be more eyeballs on this rankings than the previous one. So I think there's probably in that room, probably some excitement about that. They're also really silly. Did you see the commissioner last week? We asked the question and he made the 6-7 joke or whatever. And
oh gosh, no, I did not see that.
It is. Someone asked him about 6 versus 7 and he's like, and they asked him about, he's like 6-7, 6-7.
No,
like,
that's something I do in my home with my 14-year-old. You shouldn't be doing that on.
He's on national TV. I also think, Jason, that some of this crap can't be taken serious because I don't know what the hell they're doing, right? So I think there's a silliness associated in here as well, but I also think they like the drama of it. But I don't know if at the end of the day it will change anything. Okay, but we'll find out tonight. I believe it's at 6:00 this evening, and everybody will be watching. Okay, real quick, we'll do a modcast. We'll have everything. Give us our primer for signing day tomorrow. Just give us a couple quick bullet points of what, if anything, we need to be looking out. Look at the modcast and me. Look at what I just said on Teams. What? Give me a quick primer.
Yeah, there's still a few storylines to follow. One of the big ones is Bryson Martinez, offensive lineman. He's committed to LSU. He visited Texas a couple weeks ago. There was a pretty good chance maybe he was going to flip, or maybe he's going to wait till February to sign. Well, now you got the Lane Kiffin deal thrown in there. So does he still wait till February? Does he go ahead and sign tomorrow? And if he does, it's probably going to be LSU. So Bodney Cleveland, Texas defensive tackle commitment. He's been to North Carolina a couple times here recently. So there's a lot of chatter that he might flip to North Carolina. There's still a couple uncommitted DBs that Texas is in on. I think they have a really good chance to get maybe one of those guys, maybe both if the staff wants to push for both. So, there's still some storylines we're following for tomorrow. Mostly you just want to sit here and have an uneventful day, or I do anyways, and people watching this video probably do, and just have Diabell's letter come in here early, and Tyler Atkinson's letter come in early, and Derek Cooper's and Richie Wesley, and all these studs in this class. Let's just have them sign early, no drama, get it over with, and maybe you add one more player to this class. Maybe you lose one player from this class tomorrow too. So there'll be some storylines we're tracking tonight and on signing day tomorrow.
All right, Jason, get out of here, man. It's good seeing you, Jason Sucamel.
See you on the podcast. Yep, thanks.
See you on the podcast, which apparently we're doing the same show like we did right now. Anyway, there's Jason. Look, we'll see what happens tonight, y'all. We will see what happens tonight, and we will see what the committee decides. And at that point, if they move Texas up, cool. If not, then Chris Delcani, he's got some decisions to make. Sark's going to put it out there. And will it be empty threats, or will they have to come? Because at some point, you're going to have to come through with it. So we're going to check it out. We'll see exactly what happens. I'll be back tomorrow morning, and we're going to be fired up. Hopefully in a good way. Hey, remember I always say, live each day like it's your last. One day it will be. Go out. Have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic Tuesday. Do something nice for yourself because you absolutely deserve it. And then we'll circle back around. We'll see what happens tonight. And we will have much to discuss. All right, y'all. Take care. And yes, if you are over the age of 25-ish or so, but definitely if you're an adult, don't do the 6-7.